Do, 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 do. Oh, oh, la, oh. Hey, Sophie girl. Hi. Kia ora! Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling Tune Up Tuesday. Oh my gosh, it has been an amazing day today. And tonight we get to answer a family tree question. And you can see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So start thinking about, why do you think genealogy is important? And we'll go over some of the reasons as to why people do genealogy, as well as some important reasons as to why you should. So we're going to cover the why you should, the important reasons, as well as some other reasons as well. But for today, now I said I would be accountable. So first of all, how was your Tune-Up Tuesday? What tune-ups did you make today? I got in there. I got some of my little tune-up. I put my stuff in my calendar. Out of the 3 things I absolutely had to do today, I only got 2 of them done. So, and they were the 2 important ones. The other one is in the calendar for tomorrow. So we're still good. But I said I would come back and do your thing. It's been a beautiful day here. We got to 70 degrees, even though the weather forecast kept saying 68. So we had the windows open, we had the door open, and I kept getting, and before I got on to the help chat, I kept getting like these really bad sinus headaches. I thought, what the heck's going on? And it wasn't until after I'd started working on the help chat that for some reason I went and looked at the phone, because it's starting to get really hot in here. I'm like thinking, what the heck? And that's when I found out it was 70 degrees. Found out there's a freeze warning tonight, not in our area, but we are getting down into the 40s. For those back in New Zealand, that's single digits, low double digits into single digits area. So I'm sort of like, yes, I might be able to put my my weighted blanket on tonight. Yay! We shall see. I'll probably get in the middle of the night and wake up and just throw the thing off because I'm getting too hot. Oh, but I do have my other blanket I could put. I'll start off with the other blanket first and see how we go. Anyway, oh yeah, and so when I read the freeze warning, I noticed there was another one that said air quality that had started at 10:14 this morning, goes through to like 9 o'clock tonight. There is crappy air here, and I'm like sitting here and I'm thinking, no wonder I'm getting tension headaches, getting not the tension ones, the sinus ones. And so I closed the doors, closed the window, put the AC units on, and like within 10 minutes of me doing that, I could already feel my head clearing. And I was like, oh, thank goodness for that I figured out what it was. So the air quality outside is really, really bad right now, and I sort of go walk the pup. So she's pacing now because she's sort of like, you're on there and you were supposed to take me for a walk beforehand. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I got held up on the chat, so it cut down our walk time. So we can go for as long a walk as you want when I'm done. And I will probably take a jacket because it's already down to 66 degrees and dropping. And now that the sun's gone, it's probably going to get lower by the time we get outside. Trying to go through my notes here real quick. So yeah, we had a super productive day. I got a lot of stuff done. And of course the air quality thing kept playing into it, even though I was dealing with all of that, I still managed to get things done. I had my diffuser going with some stuff to help with the air and everything else as well. But of course, once I opened the doors and the windows, I ordered my groceries. That was the other thing I had to do today. I ordered my groceries. They arrived. So when they were delivered, that's when I left the doors open and the windows open. And the groceries were here and put away by 10 o'clock. So I was like, yes. So that felt good to get the groceries in. And then I was going through the groceries and I picked up the broccoli saw and I looked at it and I go, that doesn't look good. And I looked at the expiration date. It had expired like 2 or 3 days ago. So I messaged Instacart to let them know, and they've already put a credit on my account. So I'm sort of like, yay, I love it when that happens. But I've had to throw it out because it just looks blah. And your Tell Your Story question for today was, who's the best teacher you've ever had? Oh my gosh. Okay, so now on to family tree answers. Our question of the week is, why is genealogy important? And this is one of my favorite things to talk about. God, one of my favorites. When do I not have something favorite to talk about? But this question today comes from June, who is from Sterling, Virginia. So June, thank you very much for your question as to why is genealogy important. And it happened to be that you were the first one that asked this question like a couple of weeks ago, and we haven't been able to get to it till tonight. But since then, I've had a few more other people asking the same question. So I thought, okay, we're getting more and more people starting to ask about this question, so let's get it done. So so finding out where you come from is like the number one reason. You learn about the struggles that your ancestors went through. You've learned about the culture that you come from, and some of the traits that get passed down, culture traits, personality traits that get passed down through generations. It could be that you have a talent for being on stage. Why? Maybe you had an ancestor who was a performer at some point in time. Looking back through history, you can find that. You have a sense of service. Why? When you look back through your family tree, you find that there is service all over the place. It could be military service, it could be first responder service, it could be nursing service, as in my family. Even you could even have ministers and pastors and religious leaders in there. It's a sense of purpose. It's a sense of serving that gets passed down through generations. So finding out where you come from can help you understand who you are and help you understand a little more why you are the way you are, and what can I do? If I want to change anything, what do I do about it? Another really good reason for doing genealogy research is medical trends within the family. Now, when you come to death certificates, they have listed on, they usually, typically, most of the time have listed on there the cause of death. Why did that person die? And they may have like a main reason, and there could be an underlying cause as well. So always look for that, because you could find that there could be a trend of heart disease in the family. There could be a trend of digestive issues. So you can find out all sorts of things through the cause of death. And if you see it appearing not just in your direct line, but also on some of the sidelines as well. Direct line is more important, but if you also see it on the sidelines as well, that could say that could mean that your family may be genetically what's the word I'm looking for? Is it disposed? You may have it in your DNA that medical condition could be a problem in your family. So it's something to look at and something to be aware of. It may have nothing to do with your, you could be in the top line of health, and yet you might not have anything to worry about, and you may be the generation that skips. But it's still good to know, are there any trends in the family that with these, and how far back does it go? It's also hang on, I'm just looking down. I've got a massive list here. You can okay, so now I'm going to go down some of the other reasons, but it's all and really cool reason for doing your family tree research as well is getting the kids involved, helping them learn and understand where they came from, connecting them with points in history. Schools have either wiped out history or they don't go back very far in history. And yet, you could turn around and you could start talking to them about, like the different wars that have taken place, civil wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the World War I, World War II, the American Revolution War, all these different battles and stuff that have taken place over time, as well as things like big events that took place, like, landing on the moon. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Why? Why not? Things that you can bring up discussion. And did you have somebody who was there at NASA, the control room? In the control room while all of that was happening, did you have somebody who was in your family tree that was involved with Apollo 13, where they had to get them back? Think of things that have happened over the years, big historical events. Was your family involved in some way? If you find those connections, now the kids, your children can now make those connections to those points in history. And all of a sudden, when you make a connection to a time in history, to an event that took place, it suddenly becomes more real to you, as well as more personal, because you now have that personal connection through your ancestors as to who is, to that point in history. Because it's really cool. You can go and say, hey, my great-great-grandfather, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, or my great-great-great-grandmother, da-da-da-da, or I had a great aunt that did this, or a great uncle that did that. I've got a cousin, 3 times removed that did this. They can start talking about it, and it gives them a sense of where they came from and some of the people that they have in their family. You can use genealogy to validate family legends. And I'm all about getting those stories and finding out the truth behind the stories. There are some where the client gave me a question that they wanted, but then didn't pursue it. But of course, me being the curious person I am, went and did a little bit of digging and found out, they really don't want to know. Finding out why that, I really don't want to have to tell them that. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't sign up. Or you get cases like that where you really, when you find out the truth behind those myths and legends that come down through the family, you're sort of like, yeah, I'm kind of glad I don't have to tell them that one. So there's been, validating the family legends and stuff, finding the truth behind those stories. And some of them are really cool stories. That I've got that one client who, we make connections not to just the one famous person, and that's the other one, looking for famous ancestors. She had been told that they were related to this particular famous person, and I said, well, not directly, but indirectly, we're about 95% sure that you are. We just haven't found that when we're going back in both trees. We just haven't found that joining connection, but it's pretty sure that you are because of where he comes from and where you came from. There's going to be a connection there somewhere. So we're like 95% sure. And then having a third-time great-grandfather had a niece who got married into a famous family during a famous historical event taking place. And then her great-grandmother was sister-in-law to a daughter and a niece of a famous person. And then her own family, her own direct lineage, had very interesting stories of pioneering and struggles and kidnappings and tragedy. It was just, and she's just like, she's literally sitting there with her mouth open and couldn't believe what she's been. And I said, oh, hang on, I'm not done yet. And she was just like, the look on her face was like, what the hell now? So you're able to go back and look for those, and you find there are some really cool stories out there of things that happen that may have happened in your family that you don't know about it, but when you get it, you won't be able to stop talking about it because it's so cool. So you have those things. And that's another part, researching how your ancestors were involved in history. So when you're going back, what historical events were taking place at the time? What was it like to live in the time that they lived? So you're learning that, you're becoming part of it. You can even do trips like, in the footsteps of your ancestors, where you actually go and visit places where they lived, where they grew up, where they fought a battle. So you get that more personal connection to that place. So going and visiting their gravesite is really cool. I've visited graves of great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, and it still chokes me up to think that this is a grave of somebody that I descend from, and learning more about their life and everything else. Other things that genealogy can be used for is looking for heirs in a family inheritance. If somebody dies, they have no will, and they appear to have no kids, no siblings. Is there somebody else is there somebody in their family tree that could be a possible heir to that inheritance? So it's doing that too. Determining who owns land. Who is the legal owner of land? If land's been in the family for years and years and years and years, who actually owns it? Was it passed down? Were deeds ever changed? So who is the legal owner of that land, even if it's been in the family for generations and generations? There may not have been any formal paperwork that just passed it from one to another, so you have to trace that legality of that. For those that are adopted, locating birth parents is another good reason for genealogy as well. Not something I know nothing about tracing birth parents. Unless it's like open and they've lost contact with the person, then yeah, maybe we can help with that. But that sort of stuff there's very good specialists out there at helping people find when they were adopted and helping them there with that. Determining paternity with the DNA. That's one that's been a big one as well. Proving your lineage so you can join a society like Daughters of the American Revolution, Sons of the American Revolution, the General Society of Mayflower Descendants. There's one I can join too because you're a descendant from, I can't remember the name of the organization, but it's to do with, you can only join it if you are direct descendants from England, from people who were born and raised in England. The clan, the Ross clan, I'm a lifetime member of the Ross clan because I descend from the Ross. So, and you've got to be able to prove that you are, and some of these clans, for the Scottish clans and stuff, if you want to become a member of their societies or their organizations, associations, you have to prove that you are part of that clan. So this is where you have to prove that, yes, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather fought in the American Revolution, or my ancestors came across on the Mayflower. So you actually have to prove your lineage in order to become a member of these societies. And there are different ones all over the world. and even in this country, there's a lot of them. But the most known ones are Daughters of the American Revolution, General Society of Mayfair Descendants, Sons of the American Revolution. There was another one that I came across. Yeah, I know, sweetie girl, I know. That I came across as well. Another reason is preserving family traditions. Now, there have been some people who have a tradition that's been passed down through centuries, through years and years and years, just get passed down. And people go, why do we have to do this? Because it's tradition. Well, why is it tradition? Well, back in blah, 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 blah. And you go on and you tell the story of how that tradition started and how it's been kept up over the years. Now you have a family history event that you can tie that back to. So being able to know that, where did this tradition start? Why do we still do this tradition? So it's a really great thing to get the family involved with as well. Preserving legacies of ones who have passed. Because if they didn't tell their story through their journaling and that, we have to find a way to tell their story through the information that we can find through newspaper articles, if there were any written at the time, any books written around that time, from that time period, about that time period. What can we find out on their certificates and things like births, deaths, marriages, or the registers and all of that sort of stuff? What can we find out from the coroner's report if there was a coroner's inquest? Were they ever sued for anything? We can find out that information too. So it's a way of preserving your family history. And as the generations come along, they don't have to do as much research because you've already done a lot of it for them. And they just have to fill in the gaps of, from when you finished it or when you stopped to when they started. It's a little less work for them to do. Reconnecting with long lost family. That's another great one for doing genealogy. I had somebody come to me one time and says, who was it they were after? Wanting more information about their birth father because she wanted to know if she had any half siblings. And we found out that she didn't. And so because if there was half siblings involved, then maybe some more cousins and stuff, she could expand her family. But we didn't find the half siblings. So he didn't have any more kids after he left. So sort of like, oh, okay. But in some cases, I have also found other families, when somebody has lost track of a parent, so they were brought up by a single parent, the parents got divorced at some point, one of the parents disappeared for whatever reason, and then years later they come back and they go, I wonder what happened to my dad or my mom. So we go looking for them and we find out, that they got divorced here. This is when they got remarried. This is their new family. So being able to make that connection with them as well. Or it could be that you moved away from an area where you had a lot of family and you go back there to connect with that family to find out that nobody lives there. They've all moved on. So now you start the search for them. And then just gathering your family history to research for a book about your family, about where they came from, what did they do, things like that. Some of the genealogy fiction books that I'm reading right now are all based on actual facts. The names, of course, have all been changed. They've wound a story in between it, but the dates and the places that they're coming up with are real places and events. So they're taking real points in history and real data and creating a fictional story to go around that information. So that's kind of a cool way to do it too. So you can either do it for a book about your family, and I've actually got a couple of books. One was written about my fourth or fifth great grandmother, about her family, and there's a whole area where the family she married into, my fourth great grandfather, there's a whole section in there about how my fourth great grandfather, him and his family, his brothers, were very much involved with my fourth great grandmother's family before these two hooked up and got married. So it makes very fascinating reading to find out more about her family history. Somebody's done a lot of research on this, and there's trees planted. They've put family tree things between each chapters and stuff, so you can see, okay, we're now going to this chapter. This is how everybody is linked, and you can just quickly refer back to it. And then I have another book that was written by what would she be? She would be a great aunt. Yes, she'd be a great aunt. And she lived in the manor house in Warboys. That was at Huntingdonshire at the time. It's now part of Cambridge. And she wrote they took all the letters that she had written about her life in the manor house and created a book out of it. And this book was published back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And my great aunt actually had an original copy of this book. And so my mum took it and got the whole thing photocopied. And she's got a copy of that book. I have a copy of that book. I don't know how many copies she made. I just know that I have a copy. My mum has a copy. And it's about her life of living in the manor house. So it's really cool stuff because it's through all these letters that she wrote. People got hold of these letters and at some point and put them all into a book. So there's really cool ways that you can use history to that you can use the genealogy research to find out different things in history about where you came from, who you are. You can find some incredible, like I said, incredible stories out there. You know, stories of struggle, stories of pioneer journeys. Stories of there is tragedy in there, and there are tragic stories and everything in there. There's stories of kidnapping and other crimes like stealing and murder, and yes, I've come across a few murder stories too in the family and some family trees. But it's just fascinating about what you can find, what stories come to light. And the families, when I have brought the information to them and presented it to them and given them these stories, have been absolutely fascinated by them. And some have gone on to do more research themselves, and other ones just like, I'm happy with what I have. Maybe I'll look a little later on, and so it's a place to start. But genealogy is really important to know where you come from. Why are you the way you are? What struggles have your ancestors gone through? How did they get through those struggles? What culture did they come from? What trait, what has been impressed into me through the culture that's come down through the generations? What about the traits? Why do I have a sense of family? Why is family so important to me? Why is service so important to me? Why am I, you look at some of the, and I remember Susan Sarandon on the Who Do You Think You Are? Susan Sarandon's mother never talked about her mom. So Susan Sarandon's grandmother. And so when they started uncovering the thing, they found out that Susan Sarandon's grandmother was actually a dance hall girl and would always be on stage performing. And she was performing in some club in New York, and she was, performing in front of Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, all the known names at the time. And because she wanted to know, where did I get this love of the theater from? And it was from her grandmother. It had been passed down through generations. So, things happen for a reason. So why do you do what you do? Why are you really good at one thing and not so good at another thing? Maybe there's somebody in your family who was that it's been passed down from. So it's always good to go back and find these things. And of course, with me, it's all about the truth behind the stories, the mysteries, and uncovering the truth. So June from Sterling in Virginia, thank you so much for your question on why genealogy is important. And to everybody else who've asked that question over the last couple of weeks, thank you. I am now going to go take the pup for a walk. It's actually dark outside now. Flashlight will travel. Taking the flashlight, Zeph. Anyway, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here bright and early tomorrow morning for Winning Wednesday. Hey, konera.